Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bimmer Barn. Today I'm going to show you how to remove and repair the LCD display on your E53 X5 instrument cluster. Now the one on mine, you can't even read what it says anymore, so I'm going to show you guys step by step how to remove it, disassemble it, and then replace the LCD display with a new one that you can buy aftermarket. I'll put a link to one down below that I used, but you can do this for just about 30 bucks. And it's a great way to make the car feel brand new again. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the video. Now the first thing that we're gonna need to do, as you might imagine, is that we're gonna go ahead and pull out the instrument cluster so we can work on it on the bench. And that's gonna be a lot more comfortable than doing it out here, you know, parked in the street in the hot sun. Now let me also show you guys how to test your instrument cluster. You're just gonna put the key to position 1. You're going to press and hold the check control button until the test sequences come up. Tap it to select test 2, and then tap the enter button, which is gonna be this thing right here, and hopefully it'll sequence all the pixels, all the lights on the instrument cluster, and it'll show you guys exactly how many are bad. Go ahead and test that right here. Go to position 1, press and hold this one. Test number, we're gonna go press that once to go to test number 2, and press this, and oh boy. So this just shows you exactly how many pixels are dead. I know it can be a little bit harder to see with the glare, but there you go, that's a good angle. And it also tests, you know, all the dials and such, which is a cool feature. So there you go, that's exactly how bad it is on this car. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove it. Now to remove it, there are just 2 screws up in the corners of the instrument cluster. It's a T10 Torx, and you're gonna slowly and gently remove those screws. And once you remove those 2 screws, you should be able to lift the display out and then have it free. And to make things a little easier, you can also turn the ignition to get the steering wheel to come forward and out, and that should give you enough room to wiggle the instrument cluster free. And then turn the key off and you can disconnect the plugs for the cluster. Now, in front of us, we have everything that we're going to need to do this repair today. I think the only thing that we're going to be missing is maybe like another T8 or T10 for the screws for the display later. Maybe like a little pry bar or a flathead screwdriver to disassemble this thing. But the important things being the LCD display, and this is an aftermarket one that I got off Amazon, link down below, and then the soldering iron. And this can just be any regular soldering iron. You don't need any solder or anything, but it's just going to be used to get access to the screws that are a little bit hidden, tricky to get to on the instrument cluster. But once you've got the 4 screws that hold the display in, it's butter to replace, and you're not going to do any soldering, or at least I prefer not to do any soldering. I'll show you guys a simple trick to get around it, and then we'll test it later to see if it was successful or not. So the first thing that we're going to do is flip this instrument cluster over. There's going to be a few clips around the outside. You can even see this is the factory seal sticker right here, so it looks like this thing has never been torn apart before. But clip here, and then there's going to be these little twisty things. You see that little crosshair looking plastic dowel. There's 1, 2, I think 3, 4, 5 total, and you'll see that you need to kind of turn them about, I would say, 30 degrees clockwise and clockwise on all of them in order to remove this faceplate. But honestly, you can break them and it's still gonna go together just fine. I'm gonna try my best not to, but I'll show you guys a little bit more about it once we get it all apart. So let me go ahead and disassemble this thing. And if you guys want more detail, I do have a video I'll put up above here on the E39 instrument cluster. It's exactly the same once you get it out of the car to disassemble and replace the screen. And that's like a much longer detailed video if you want more help than this. So I've got the instrument cluster apart, And now all we need to do is fire up our soldering iron to get access to the 4 screws that hold this display onto the circuit board here. And you'll see in a second here, you kind of have to go in blind. Like the easiest one here is gonna be number 3. You can see that there's like even extra plastic molding on the instrument cluster to hide it. But let's get these 4 screws out, and then the instrument cluster should go straight out the bottom, and we'll be able to disassemble this thing and get access to the ribbon and start replacing it with our new one. Now, when you're using the soldering iron, definitely don't breathe in any of the vapors caused by that plastic burning. That's definitely like cancer and stuff. But as you saw, I also went and cleaned out just the head of some of these holes, so that we could get the plastic that was melted off, because you don't want to leave this instrument face here lifted up. So you want to clean this up, use a little bit of a drill, or maybe like a knife, or maybe you could just do it with the soldering iron. But now what we have to do is remove the backing plate of this so that we can get the screen out, because it comes out of the rear, and essentially it's just held on by some of the clips here from the electrical connectors. There's little locking clips, about 4, well exactly 4 for each electrical connector. But once we get this backing off, we'll have access to the circuit board, and we'll loosen the screws on the front so we can get access to the screen. So I got the backing plate off, so I had to remove those first, the T10s, and then we were able to unclip the connectors here and get it off. And now I've removed, well, completely loosened the screws that hold the display in, and you can see how I was able to wiggle it out. So what we're gonna do now is lightly separate the ribbon from the circuit board here, and then we're gonna clean up all the pins and make sure that we have a clean surface to attach our new ribbon cable to. And I'll show you guys my simple trick for getting that done without soldering. So now we've got the instrument cluster all torn apart, and you can see we've finally got access to the little LCD display here with the ribbon attached. And so this is how it comes OEM. You could buy just the ribbon, but then it's going to be a lot more difficult because you are going to have to solder it to the screen before you get it onto the circuit board here. Now the new one from Amazon comes in this fancy electrical bag to protect it from static and stuff. And what we're gonna do is unbox it, and in a kind of a different order than we disassembled this, we're actually going to use a little Scotch tape and tape it onto the circuit board here with the pins aligned as best as possible. They actually have to be like basically 100% perfectly aligned, no tilt, no side to side misalignment. And once you've got the most perfect position, then you can kind of assemble the rest of the screen around it. And then this, once it gets screwed to the board, is going to make contact between the ribbon and the cleaned electrical board here. So we don't have to do any soldering, and we should be able to just use a little bit of tape and save ourselves all that effort. So let me go ahead now and install the board, and then I'll show you guys once we've got it back together. Now we've got everything back together, and the first thing you'll notice is that the new display, it's a little bit more glossy. I mean, here it definitely has some haze to it, and you want to make sure to remove the screen protector, but a little bit more glossy than the factory screen, and something that I kind of prefer because it makes it look a little bit newer, a little bit more crisp. But now all we need to do is reassemble the housing here. We'll put this on and need to clip everything back in, and then let's go ahead now and test it out in our X5. And it's installed. So far it looks to be working. Let's go ahead now and do our test. So remember, we're gonna go to key position 1, press and hold for 5 seconds. Go to test number 2 and start the test. And it looks like we've got all the pixels, everything lit up here, looking really good. So there you go, that's it guys, simple as that. First time's the charm. Amazon 2-day shipping on that instrument cluster panel, and you guys can fix your broken LCD at home too. So that's gonna conclude our video for today, and I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, be sure to leave a like or a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't yet. As always, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and we will see you next time.